Hey guys, so as you can see, I'm wearing my hydration pack indoors, and that's because I wanted to talk a little bit about vests, specifically the one I'm wearing, the Camelbak Ultra Pro. I've always been interested in the different ways that people carry vests. When I first started ultra running, I actually read a study that suggested that wearing a hydration pack with a bladder was a lot more efficient than running with handhelds. So I did that for a while. The first couple of ultras I did pretty much exclusively in my Camelbak circuit, which was quite old at the time. And then I decided after a while that I was more comfortable with handhelds, so I did that for a little bit. And then eventually I kind of swapped back and began using vests again, just for the sake of having your hands free to reach around for gels or food or whatever. But it does depend on the race for me. If I have to go a long distance between aid stations, I much prefer a vest rather than handhelds. But it definitely depends on the conditions. So before I talk about this vest specifically, I have to say that Camelbak is pretty much the only brand for hydration packs that I've ever used. The handhelds I use are Nathan's. However, the only running packs I've ever used have been Camelbak. I started with an old version of the Camelbak circuit and then ran in a newer version of that pack, and now I'm using the Camelbak Ultra Pro, which is one of their first vests that actually uses soft flasks that go in the front of the pack rather than a bladder in the back. So on to the details of this pack. It comes with two of these soft flasks. The interesting thing about these is they're not really round. It kind of has sort of a shape like this, and that makes it easier to fit against your body. I've used rounder flasks before. I find that this is a little bit nicer. It just slides right in like this. Now, one of the things with packs that use soft flasks is they're often really bouncy, and packs that use hard bottles especially. Like I said, this is the only pack of this variety that I've ever used, but I've definitely seen people with other vests that have bottles up front that just looks absolutely uncomfortable in terms of the bouncing that you get with the bottles. This pack doesn't bounce a whole lot. It bounces a little bit when the flasks are entirely full. I think any vest is going to do that. So it is a little bit annoying, but for the most part, they fit in nicely. And once you start to drink out of them, you don't really notice the bouncing much at all. The other nice thing about these flasks is the opening is a little bit wider than some of the others. One of my friends uses a Solomon pack with Solomon soft flasks, and the openings around those soft flasks are fairly small. I know that Solomon makes a newer soft flask that's a lot easier to open and stuff, but I usually do put powders in my soft flasks. I don't usually put ice. The openings are probably a little bit too small for ice, but in terms of putting powder in it, it's wide enough that it's not really a problem. So that's one good thing about these flasks. It's also worth noting that even though this pack looks fairly slim, there's actually quite a bit of storage in the back. It's a very wide pack compared to some of the others. You can almost stuff things in too wide. Granted, I don't usually put that many things in here, but I know that I have seen runners use this pack for the Ultra Trail du Mont Blanc, in which there's a ton of required gear. And the other nice thing about this pack is if you do desire to carry poles, you can actually put them in where the bladder hose tends to come out. You may have seen Xavier Thévenard this video. He carries his poles that way. I've thrown in my GoPro on a stick in these things, and it is a very good method to carry something that's longer. It just kind of sticks out over your shoulder, but it's not really a problem. And in terms of other items, yeah, it does carry quite a bit. Some of the smaller pockets include this one here, which you can put your cell phone in, and then a couple of little pockets up here. My favorite thing about this pack, probably more than anything, are these side pockets. These are nice because the previous vest that I've used, the Camelbak circuit, which is designed with a bladder, actually doesn't have these side pockets, but instead it just has these straps around the side. So these are really, really helpful for stuffing garbage or gels or anything like that. So there are a couple of things I'm not a huge fan of with this pack that I should talk about. The first thing is this top pocket up here, which is designed to carry your phone. I find that if I have a full soft flask and my phone in this pocket, it does cause quite a bit of bouncing. I solve that problem usually by putting my phone in one of these side pockets, but it'd be nice if I could have these totally free for gels and other things like that. I don't race with my phone, so that's not a problem, but I wish I could get more use out of this pocket, but it's just a little bit too uncomfortable. One more thing that's a little bit concerning about the fitting of this is this is a medium-sized pack, and I'm about 6'2" and 160 pounds. And when I have the flasks entirely full, I find that I really need to cinch down the vest kind of all the way. So I don't know if that's a problem. It's probably not for other people. I'm pretty slim. However, be careful with your sizing. I could see somebody ordering the pack and having it not cinched down enough to keep the flasks from bouncing. That's pretty much a personal issue. It doesn't bother me because I am big enough. It's just barely good enough sometimes. One final thing about this pack that's a little bit concerning. The material used to make this pack is kind of a harder sort of, I'm not sure what you call this material. It's kind of like the stuff on the sweatpants that make all the whoosh noise. That's probably not a good analogy. But anyway, my one concern with this pack, especially with this color, is that it can get quite a bit hot. I don't know if there are other packs that are better. However, because of this material, which is not super breathable, and the black color, there are other colors offered. It does get a bit warm. You are wearing an extra layer. Again, that's probably the case with a lot of packs, but it is worth noting that this is quite warm. I'll be running Western States later in the year. I'm not too worried about it because I've seen other runners use this pack. I know Yeo Wong has used this pack exactly, and I'm sure there are a ton of other people. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Dominic Layfield, who finished 14th at Western States, there's a good video about him. He wore this pack as well. So I'm not super worried. I plan to use it, but it is worth noting that it can be a little bit hot. So there's one final thing I need to talk about with the Camelbak brand in general, and I'm circling back to the positives here, and that's their Got Your Back lifetime warranty. I've actually had the pleasure of using that service. My old pack, which was the Camelbak Circuit, this right here, but it was a different color, and slightly different design. This is the newer version. It had one strap break. It was actually this strap right here, which cinches down your soft flasks or whatever you need to put in this pocket. It broke, so I wasn't able to tighten this down. So I filled out a warranty form with Camelbak. I didn't know what exactly would happen. I had to mail my pack back, which is always a little bit of a bummer, but I did that. And within days, they sent me back this brand new hydration pack with a bladder, which, for the record, I didn't mail back to them the bladder of the old pack. I was honestly expecting them to just fix that one strap, and they could have, and I would have been perfectly satisfied. But they sent me a brand new pack in brand new packaging. It was extremely efficient. I've worked with companies before, well, I shouldn't say I've worked with, but I've used companies before where customer service was a total pain. It's hard to get a hold of them. You have to mail your stuff back, and it takes weeks before you get the replacement product. That's kind of a bummer. So I will say that with the Camelbak Got Your Back program that everybody always talks about, it works really, really well and makes anything you buy from Camelbak kind of a risk-free purchase. It sounds like I'm sponsored by them. I'm not. I'm a big fan of the brand from what's happened the last couple of times I've purchased their products. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. I don't normally make these gear sort of reviews, but I'm really interested in packs and the various ways that you can carry water, so I thought I'd put this out there and talk about this pack that I've been quite enjoying for a long time. So thanks for watching. I hope you follow my channel for updates on my training for Western States, amongst other things. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.